Hey guys, I'm gonna do in case you missed it on Scott Pilgrim. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's one of my favorite movies, and I've seen it a whole bunch of countless amount of times. But it's off the top, so I may skip around and skip some parts. But anyway, I'm just trying to give you the gist of it anyway. So definitely still need to go watch it if you haven't. So all right. So, Scott Pilgrim versus the World was a 2010 action comedy by Edgar Wright. He wrote, produced it, all that shit. Like, from Shaun of the Dead and At World's End. He's like that nigga. He's Canadian too, I think. So, had Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim was from it's like a comic book, not a comic book, but like a graphic novel, I think, from Brian Lee O'Malley. So they're in Canada, and well, also it stars a whole bunch of people. It was like Mary Elizabeth Winstead that was in one of the Final Destinations, and she was in that new Cloverfield. She was Ramona. Brie Larson's in there as Nat or Envy. Chris Evans was in there as the evil ex Lucas Lee. Who else is in there? Anna Kendrick's in there as Michael Cera's brother. It's a handful of actors in here. So pretty much, they're in Toronto. They're in Canada. Michael Cera is Scott Pilgrim. He's like 22, and he's dating an Asian girl named Nav Chow. That's a high schooler, and he's in a band called Sex Bomb from Mario reference. And then there's a girl Kim, and there's Neil, and there's some other dude in the band. I forget his name right now. So then he hangs with Knobs and shit. They be kicking it, all this and that. Then he was it's hella jokes in there too. It's hella jokes in between him and Knobs. The intro to the movie, they are like zooming in or like zooming out, and they were playing the song, and Knobs was like, "I can be quieter." Like it's a funny ass movie. I can't really, if I try to specify every single scene, this video will be as long as the movie. So I'm just trying to keep it short. So Knobs and Scott is a couple, and then at one point he gets bored of her. Like, he dates a lot of girls. Aubrey Plaza was in it too. So he like goes to a party where this dude knows everybody. His name was like, forgot what the fuck his name was, but he drew a shit ass picture of Ramona, and I think he had a dream of her from ordering some shit from Amazon.ca, like Canada, and he asked his roommate what that was. Oh yeah, he was Kieran Culkin. He's Macaulay Culkin's brother. He was his gay roommate, and it was funny. And then he had like a gay friend somewhere too. And they went to this battle of the bands that they were supposed to go to with their band. And old dude, fuck, what's his name? Hold up, let me see. Wallace. It was Wallace Wells. Wallace is Kieran Culkin. He's the gay one. So Wallace brought a dude, a Harry Potter looking dude, and he started making out with him, and that was supposed to be Anna Kendrick date. That was a funny little part. So then they do that. He broke up with Knobs. Knobs was shitty. Knobs was trying to get Scott back, and then now he's dating Ramona because she's from America and shit, and she's tight. So they go to the battle of the bands, and one of her ex-boyfriends is in the shit. Her first boyfriend, Matthew Patel, Indian dude. And Scott was like, okay. So they get to scrapping because he said he had to fight him, and he's like, "Did you read my email explaining the situation?" And then Michael Cera was like, "I skimmed it." Like, that was my shit. So then they got to fighting. Scott hit him with like a fucking 64 hit combo, but he didn't die. Then he started singing like these Bollywood songs and doing magic with demon hipster chicks. And then Scott beats him too. Like, he uppercuts him, and then he won, and then coins came out. Then Ramona got little, and then he was looking for Ramona, and then he was talking to Wallace. Wallace was giving him advice about the relationship and the battle of the bands, and so then he stumbles onto her again, and then her next boyfriend is Lucas Lee, which is like a skateboarder dude, which was Chris Evans. Dude was funny as shit. They fight in front of like a giant castle, and dude was a skateboarder too, like on some goofy shit. So then they fought, and then Scott kind of got beat up, and then he had all the stunt doubles come out, and then Scott had to fight all the stunt doubles too, and he beat them, and then he got Lucas Lee to do a big ass skateboard trick, a grindy thing is what he said, down this rail that was garbage, and then he died, and then he got shitty so he can get his autograph, and then Ramona left again, so then he's hanging out with Wallace and the crew and Kim, and that's the drummer in the group that they used to date. She just says like just grimy shit to him the whole movie. And then Nat, there's a girl Nat, or Envious as she went, that she used to date, that Scott used to date. They used to be a thing, but then she got over him because she met number 3, ex number 3, which was fuck, what was it? Who was that? Wait, who the fuck? Okay, it was Brandon Routh. That's Todd Ingram. He was Superman at one point in Superman Returns, and he's in Legends of Tomorrow as Ray Palmer, Adam. So Todd was a vegan. He got vegan powers, and he wore number 3 on his shirt. And the shit was funny. He threw Scott in the air. He had telekinesis. They had a bass battle. It was some good shit. And then Scott tricked him into drinking a half and half, so he lost his vegan powers because he already had broke the rule. That was like his 3rd strike. So then old dude that played the Punisher in like the first movie way back, somebody else, they come out, and then they was like, I had a gelato, and he was like, gelato is a vegan? He's like, it's milk and eggs, bitch. Like, it's the funniest. I'm telling you, it's the funniest. That scene was hilarious. So then they de-veganize him, and then Scott like headbutts him. And then Nat was Brie Larson too. I don't know if I said that already. She just won like hella awards. She like a good actress. I'll fuck with Brie Larson. And she was in 21 Jump Street and shit. So he headbutted Todd, and he's like, "You were a vegan. Now you will be gone." And he's like that, and so he died. And then after that, the next ex was Mae Whitman. That's in the Duff. And she voiced Katara in Avatar, so I like Mae Whitman too. She was the next ex, a girl, so it was she had a little part. Scott, she was fucking with Scott earlier. She was flying through the snow and shit, and then he punched her in the titty, punched her in the boob. And then they went, after that, Ramona and Scott in the group and the sex bomb went to a club, and he got drunk off some gin and tonics, like off a sip. And then, old girl, I think her name was Roxy Richer. She came in and started beating up on Scott at the club. And then Ramona had to help him fight her because he didn't want to hit a girl. And then her weak spot was like she had an orgasm by touching the back of her kneecap or something. So then she died. And then after that, it was, I guess 5 and 6. It was these Asian guys, the Nagi Twins. I can't even say the shit. I took Japanese for 2 years. They say it funny. They kind of fumble the name in the movie too. Like Michael Cera was like, who the hell are the Nagi Twins? So it's those 2 Asian guys. They have a battle of the band. Ramona's there. There's other dude named G-Man Graves, which happens to be this dude named Gideon, which happens to be a dude that Ramona's fucking with, but nobody knew that. Scott and them didn't know that, and he put a microchip in her head too. But that I'm skipping a little bit. So they beat them in a bass battle, like a band. They beat them with a song. They summon like a giant gorilla. They summon 2 twin dragons, and then they win and they die. And then Ramona decides to go hang with Gideon because she got the chip in her neck. And then they sign a deal with Gideon. Said Scott refused to be in the group. He had another dude named Young Neil that was in the. He took his spot as the bassist. He wasn't fucking with him, obviously. So then after that, Scott decides to fight Gideon for himself. No, for Ramona. And then he dies. He gets like a sword, comes out of his chest. He dies. But earlier in the movie, he got a life. He got like a one up life thing. So like old school video games and shit. So he died. Gideon killed him. And then he goes into limbo. And like that's when Ramona was talking to him about the microchip and shit. So he uses the life, goes back through that whole little event thing, does everything differently. Then he fights him again for the power of self-respect because he fought him for himself. Then he gets another sword. Then he fought on that sword, broke too, but he didn't die. Knives comes out to kick Ramona in the face. Well, she had did before. I skipped that. This time, and they learned he was cheating on both of them. But this time, Scott handled it like a dude. He handled his business, and then they all buddy up. And then Gideon swallows his gum. And then he's like, it's another funny ass joke. He's like, it's going to be in my digestive tract for 7 years. Like, he got hella mad. So them three, then he kicks and beats up Ramona. He smacked her. I was like, ooh. Ooh. And then, so Ramona, Knives, and Scott fuck up Gideon. And he dies. Then there was a nega Scott. There's an evil version of Scott. He's throughout the movie. Actually, you got to watch the bonus scenes if you got the DVD or anything. It's fucking hilarious. So Nega Scott comes out to fight Scott. He's like the ultra baddie. And then they come out, they just shoot his shit. They're talking. They're going to go to IHOP or some shit. It was funny. So then at the very end, Knives, everybody is cool. Everybody's reconciled. Everybody's straight. But Knives realized that her relationship with Scott ends. And then he pursues his relationship with Ramona. Which I think he should, because that's the whole fucking point of why you did all this shit in the first place. And then, but there's an alternate ending where he gets with Knives too, which it's also understandable. And okay, now mind you, that was in case you missed it. Scott Pilgrim, really condensed. I skipped so much. There's so much more I could say. There's so many more funny parts. There's so many individual scenes, and I skipped out on so much. Like Wallace Whale says some funny shit. Kieran Cole, it's so much. That was just really a nutshell in a nutshell. I just wanted to get the video out there. But go check out Scott Pilgrim. It's one of my favorites ever. I think I got it somewhere. Okay, no, I guess. Shit, I can't find it right now, but I got it. I love that movie. So, all right, comment, subscribe, tell me if you liked the movie, if you thought it was bad. I saw it the day it came out, but that's it. Peace.